Hello, YouTube assures me I'm live, but I'm going to wait 30 seconds so I know for certain. Hello, everybody who is with us in the chat. Wow, so many people. Renee, hold that thought about table of contents. Pentacon 6 expert. Yep, that's Trevor. Got your email. If you would like to share that link in the chat, feel free. And I will reply to your email. I'm live. Great. So we will carry on that chat later. But for the moment, let's get straight on with it. So I have buttons to push, and when I have pushed them, we're good to go. So let me push those buttons. Oh, everything's working. Makes a change. Oh, I shouldn't speak too soon, should I? No, don't do that. Okay. Right. Hopefully you can see what you're supposed to be seeing, and I can see the chat, so let's get on with it. Welcome to Mastering Textiles in Affinity Publisher, the latest in our seemingly endless series of videos about it. If you have never seen... hang on, why are we not moving? We should be moving. If you have never seen me before, I'm Elaine Giles. I am a long-time trainer, podcast host, radio presenter on a Saturday night. Work with macOS, iOS, Windows, and all types of applications. Just a geek. Love it. Affinity designer, Affinity Publisher, Affinity Photo, Scrivener, Office, even Creative Cloud at times, but not often. Right, we broadcast in 1080p, but YouTube doesn't realise that at times and puts you on silly resolutions. So in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, you will see a cog. And you will be able to choose a higher resolution from there. And while you're down there, if you enjoy the show, give us a like, because it really does make a difference. Talking of liking, etc., you could also subscribe. And when you subscribe, you get the option to enable the notification bell, which will make sure that you miss nothing as we move through these sessions. Okay, so what do we have today? We have Mastering Styles in Affinity Photo. Affinity Photo, what's the matter with me? It's Publisher. Good grief. Good grief, woman. We're off already. Forget that. It's Publisher. Right, we've got styles and text styles. Not the same thing. So I will explain all of that. Then within our text styles, we actually have paragraph styles, character styles, group styles. We've got the base style and all of the elements that make up a style. I will show you how to create styles, edit styles, delete styles, work with styles from Word, actually import them, and I will show you a compile from Scrivener. Now be warned, the working with Word is going to be fairly basic because we are looking at Affinity Publisher, despite the fact I think it's photo. And so the Word demo, it will work, but it's not overcomplicated. And the same with the Scrivener one, because there are people with us who are only using Affinity Publisher. They're not interested in Word. They're not interested in Scrivener, but I will just cover it briefly. It'll be enough so you understand it. There's also a couple of special cases involved here when it comes to styles. So given the time scale that we've got and that we have people with us who are at the very beginning of their journey with Affinity Publisher, I'm leaving out these special cases. But fear not, we have other sessions dedicated to how to create a table of contents in Affinity Publisher, which will include the styles. The reason that I can't do that first is if you have no idea what a style is and how it works, the entire session would make no sense. So that one's going to follow on from this one, as is how to create an index in Affinity Publisher. So they're coming up soon, but today we're looking at mastering textiles in Affinity Publisher. Mike's going to collect any questions that you have ready for the Q&A at the end. I will probably stop a couple of times during the session as well and look at the Q&A. Do post the questions in any time they spring to your mind. If you can remember to put a Q at the front, even better. But Mike will keep an eye on it. Q or no Q. So let's head off into it. All right, so the first thing I'm going to need is Publisher. I won't open Photo. Make a mistake. Oh, dear me. All right, there's Affinity Publisher. Now, hanging off screen is a lot of the stuff that I'll be working with. But the first thing to show you, I'm going to make a new file. Standard new file. Right, you could easily be forgiven for thinking, okay, in the view Studio, we have styles. That seems a good place to start, isn't it? It's not. But what that looks like when you enable it, which I have it hanging off screen, is that. And it does look like styles. It makes promises regarding styles. Right, what these are used for is object styles. So you apply them to your objects. And there's some weird and wonderful ones there, but I'm sure somebody will find a use for them. These are not text styles, obviously, but you could add some text. So we'll do a hello world. And we will make that big enough so you can see it and show you that you can actually apply all of these to text. So if what you're looking for is something for maybe a heading or something you really want to focus in a very stylized way. But what we're looking at here is a style that is a visual thing. It's not actually applying it in terms of bold, italic, underline, a certain colour. It goes way beyond that. These are object styles, but they can be applied to text. But that is not what we're talking about today. So first thing to think about is this style panel. Unless you do want to do this with your text, this is not the place to be. So I'm going to close that down completely. That's not what we're looking at. First thing to think about. But we do have text styles here. So the panel that you actually need displaying is the text styles panel. Again, you get to that from View, Studio, and Text Styles at the bottom. And this file, you've just seen me create it. So what we've got in here is the default of everything. So this is what you get when you make a new file. It already has loaded into it an entire range of text styles that you may or may not use. Some of them are incredibly useful. Others, less so. But you can delete them, you can edit them, you can rename them. There's a lot that you can do. So let's start taking a look at this. So first thing we're going to need is somewhere to put the text. So I'm going to put a text frame on here. Right, and we can just put some text in it and start looking at the text styles. I have some text that I had earlier, which is hanging around off the screen, which I will go and get as my sample text. Right. I will open it up so you can see it. It's on the wrong screen, but never mind. It's just text. It's some Lorem Ipsum with a quote hidden in there. So I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it into this frame. What you get when you paste text in is unstyled text. And we can tell it's unstyled because in this text styles panel, we have a no style at the top and we have a no style at the bottom. You might be wondering why we have multiple no styles. Styles in Affinity Publisher, there are 3 types of styles. The first one that we're going to look at is paragraph styles. And with a paragraph style, the style applies to the entire paragraph. You don't have to select it. So I'm just going to go in and put the insertion point in that paragraph, but I'm not actually going to select anything. And over here we have some styles, and one of them is body. Doesn't make much difference. This is because it's the default, but we could make it make a difference. But we also have heading styles, heading 1 styles, we've got bullet styles. So these are all paragraph styles, and a paragraph style applies to the entire paragraph. Which you might think, well, when would I want anything else? Well, when you would want something else is something like this bit here, where it says Steve Jobs. So it's a quote, it's from Steve Jobs. Maybe I would just like that bit to be bold or italic. And in those circumstances, you need what's called a character style. So there's 2 styles to start with. A paragraph style and a character style. Those are the ones that you will mainly deal with. But we're going to get advanced and look at group styles later. But we'll stick to paragraph styles and character styles at the moment. So we have broken down in here, the majority of these are paragraph styles, and we have 4 character styles at the bottom, one of which is no style. But in here we can have strong and emphasis, we can have it just bold, or we can have it just italic, which In here, that style is called emphasis. But I'm going to make that have no style at all. Don't want any of those. Right, we will come on to look at one extra style that is in this panel that is neither a paragraph style or a character style, just to liven things up a bit. But first of all, let's look at the complete basics. And let's say up here with this paragraph, what I would actually like to do is have this be the first paragraph of a story. And sometimes when you think about magazines, that first paragraph is either slightly bigger or bold, a different colour, different spacing. So what we're looking at is what I would call body intro, the first paragraph. Right, the easiest way to do this is go and format it and then turn that into a style. A style being a collection of formatting. Think of it as a recipe. It's a collection of formatting that is applied in a single click. So the first thing up here with this is not really my font. So I'm just going to style this however I like from here. So I'm going to make sure that I've got the whole thing selected first and make sure we've got Avenir. There we go. Now the thing with Avenir is it's nice. It's plain, it's clear, but it's quite skinny. So it might need to be a little bit bigger. So I've made it a bit bigger. I could, if I wanted, make that bold. Well, that's probably a bit much, but we'll go with it. I could even change the colour of it. So if I move these up a bit, I could get that to be a pretty lurid purple. But, you know, at least you can see it. So let's make sure we've still got hold of it. Now, at the moment here, there is also this area, and it says no style and no style. And what these are referring to is character styles. So if I do the drop down there, you can see that we've actually got no style, which has a tick next to it. But we also have emphasis strong and strong emphasis. We've seen that before. If you look down here at that, while I go up here and move through these, you will see that they light up in the text styles panel. They are identical. It's just two different ways of applying it. So if you're working on a small screen, like I am at the moment, you could hide that text styles panel. Once you've configured it all and you don't need to interact with that in any kind of way, you could get rid of it. In exactly the same way as we have the character styles, we also have paragraph styles. And again, they all line up with what we have in the panel, like that. So it's just a different way of working. You can up here, you've got extra buttons as well where you can update character styles. You can see the character styles, same with the paragraphs. So this one here that I'm working on, let's say I wanted to centre that as well, just to make it really awful. Right, I'm going to come out of that by letting you see the whole thing, because the next thing we need to see, you need to see the entire frame for that to work. Right, let me just press that. That's okay, everything is working there. Right, so now you can see the whole thing. Remember that I've got selected this top part here. So I've actually only got the one paragraph selected. So when we look at the options and we can right align and left align and centre align or fully justify, it's happening to the one paragraph. The next options we have, instead of it being horizontal alignment, we've got the vertical alignment. And at the moment it's set to top. What do we think would happen if we set it to vertical? Because remember, we've only got one paragraph selected. And something rather strange happens. So if we go to centre, we've still only got this paragraph selected, but these options apply to the entire frame. So sometimes you want it bottom aligned because you want to put some information at the top. But basically, it is happening to the whole thing. You could even justify that and stretch it out. So if you've got a one-page document like I have here, and you think, oh, what spacing would I need on this to make it fit, then you can just turn justification on, but instead of it being horizontal justification, it's vertical justification. I'm going to leave that alone and leave it at top. You also have in here the ability to make something a bullet. You can't see it too well, but there is a bullet on there, which we don't want, or a number, if you want that. And this option that you have here, where it's got 13, we need to get this out of the way, don't we? Oh dear me, it's working behind there and I can't see it properly. Right, this is the leading, the gap that you have between the lines. So if you want to make that so you can see it a little bit clearer, like I said, maybe the default that it's got there, not bad, but with it being bold, it might be better if you added a little bit more to it. So we could make that 18 like that. Right, we've made a lot of changes to that paragraph, a real lot of changes to that paragraph. Now, how would we take that and apply it to another paragraph? And that is where your styles come in. And I'm wondering where my styles have actually gone. They're over here. Right, let's put them back where they were and try and work like that. Okay, so we could make a new style, and that's probably the best way to go here at the moment. But hold on to that thought. Really, we need to take a step back, and we will do that when we've created this style. But to create the style, there is a very tiny button at the bottom, which is Create Paragraph Style, and I will click on that. That gives you the Create Paragraph Style dialog box. Now, the number of things that you can configure for an individual paragraph style is virtually limitless. You know that we only, up here, we changed the font, we changed the size, we made it bold, we changed the colour, we changed the alignment, that was it. But look at all of the options that are actually set. And that is all of these in here. So the style we are about to create has all of that set in there, which looks hideous if you had to go in there and type it. But everything that's in that style settings at the bottom is controlled through these options that you have down the side. So at the top we have the style details, the style name for a start. So I will put in there body intro. So it's the first paragraph, but really it's based on the body. Then we've got the character font. So it was Avenir, and it was black, and it was 13 points. So all of the things that you see at the bottom, you control at the side. So if I wanted to change the colour, the highlight colour, the position of it, the language of it, you name it, it's all down here. I don't intend to go through every option in here, obviously, but it's pretty self-explanatory in terms of, you know, if I wanted it superscript, I could do that by just putting that option, tapping the radio button there, and you're done. I don't need, because I've already defined it, to make much in the way of changes in here. Apart from giving it a name at the top, which I have done, I could just then click OK and I have a style. And if, for whatever the reason, I wanted another paragraph formatted to look like that, then I have body intro listed. This is alphabetical in here, so body and body intro. And I can apply all of those styles. Now, the power of the style is this. If I now go into body intro and I edit it, so let me move it out of the way so we can see it. And let's say I've decided the font's fine, no problem with that, but I think I want it a bit bigger than that. As soon as I go into here and start making changes, it's rippled through to both paragraphs that are formatted with this style. So obviously the most obvious thing I could change is to change the colour. Let's change the colour and make it a green colour like that. And as soon as you click OK, every paragraph that is formatted with that style updates, which is great. Now, was that the right way to do it? Actually, no. The best way to do it is to go right back to the beginning and think through your documents. Okay. In your document, you are going to have a font that is used more than any other font. In my case, that would be Avenir. That's my favourite font, and certainly for this document. So here's an issue that we've got. This text is unstyled, therefore it's not Avenir. I could make another style. In fact, it would probably make sense, wouldn't it, with all of this. That's a quote, we're going to come back to that. But this paragraph here, in fact, all of these paragraphs, all of these except the quote, we could do with having some sort of style on it. I'm going to just style one of these. Right, And what I'm looking at with this is, I would like to say to the document, the font used most throughout this document is going to be Avenir. And for that, we have a special style. So I promised we would come back to it because I said we had paragraph styles, all of that lot there. So everything from nose style, all of that's affecting paragraphs. And everything at the bottom here is affecting characters. And we saw that when we applied it to the name Steve Jobs. But we have one more. We have that one there, which is a base style, as the name implies. So I've got my paragraph selected and I click on base and nothing happens. In fact, I am actually clicking on it, but nothing is happening. You do not apply the base style directly. The base style is like the top of a genealogy tree. It's the style upon which everything else can pull on. It's the base style. So you can right click it and you can edit it. So let's go in and edit it. Editing principle, exactly the same as anything else. So that dialog box is exactly the same as anything else. And the one thing that I want to change is in the fonts here where it's Arial, I would much rather have it Avenir. You can then go through and make as many changes as you like. So for certain documents, I have gone through and I've changed the text from black to blue because that's the brand colour. And I would set that up at the base level. We will do that in here so we can see that there is a difference. So we will make it a blue colour. Doing that has had no impact whatsoever in here though. Why not? Well, if we go into the body style, so this body style that we're going to apply to that one there, now it has, because this is not styled. But as soon as we style it, it changes to Avenir and it changes to blue. But how's it doing that? Because we did not edit the body style. We edited the base style. But if we go into the body style and we edit that, the very important thing that's happening in here is this bit, which is what is the style based on? So I talked about this tree concept. And the tree concept is at the top of the tree, you have the base style. And then you decide what other styles, the children's styles, are based on the body style. You don't have to have that based on the body style. So you could actually say, I want it based on no style at all. And then OK it. And now we've lost the blue. We've lost the blue because the blue was not coming from the body style. It was coming from the base style. But if we go back into body and edit it again and we say, no, I was right the first time, base it on the base style and OK that, perfect. It's pulling all of that through from the base style. In the same way in here, if we go in there and make that body and then we go back to the base style, and we change the colour in there. So let's change it from that blue to something really hideous, like a raspberry colour. There we go. They've both changed. Now, if I go into another paragraph and I apply the body style, I'm going to get that the same colour. But if I decide, for whatever the reason, I'm not overly keen on that colour, let's make that more orangey, just so we can see a difference between it. So now we've applied a colour directly to this paragraph. What would happen if we went back and changed the base style, which was the pinky colour, if you remember? So we've come to our senses and we think, no, it needs to be more blue. That blue so we can see it. What do you think is going on in behind the scenes? Well, technically, 2 paragraphs should be changing. What about the third? The third one is not changing. So let's have a look at what we've got. This paragraph here is using the body style. This one here is using the body style. And the bottom one is using the body style, but it didn't change. It didn't change because you put a local override on it. You manually change that colour to orange. Now, if you decide You quite like that orange, and you would rather all of the body styles were orange. It starts to get complicated, doesn't it? But actually it's not. You're in this paragraph, it is styled with body, but there is an override on it. How do we know this? Well, we know this because when we're in the body style and it says body, there is this little disclosure triangle at the top and it says body in it. And if that was closed up, you just think, well, it's just saying body because I'm on body. But actually, that's showing you a whole lot more. It's showing you that you have styled this paragraph with the body paragraph style and you've made no changes to it. But when you click in the bottom one, this then gives you far more information. It's saying, okay, you put the body style on this, but in addition to that, you made the character fill this RGB colour. So that little dialogue thing at the top, which you can only see fully, because when it's closed up, you just see body plus. Now, body plus means that you've made a change, but when you open it up, you can actually see what kind of change you've made. So that means it's got a paragraph style on it, but you've overridden the colour. So I personally leave that open. It's quite handy, mainly for troubleshooting, because I do want everything to be done with styles. I don't want anything to be unstyled. But sometimes I make a change and I think, why is that not changing? And I'll realise that I've missed one step, which is, if we want it to be this orange colour, rather than going through and having to do it all manually, we can see that we've made a change from the body style, but you can right click on the body style and say update it. And what you're doing when you do that is say take all the changes, all the exceptions to what was the body style previously, and to roll it up into the body style. And what happens is it updates all of the paragraphs with the exceptions that you had. So if you've gone through it, I mean, you might think to yourself, well, a better way to do that, of course, is to go in and to edit the body style manually. Well, it is, but, you know, if you've forgotten to do that and you've formatted this paragraph, so let's make more changes to that paragraph. We'll make that a deeper red for a start so we can read it, and we'll make it bold. I know it's not great. It doesn't look great, but we'll do it anyway. At that point, you think, oh, no, that was coming from a style. But it's not a problem. You just need to update the body style, and it will update throughout the document. So far, so good. Right, what we haven't done, we went in and we formatted a paragraph and we made a style with it, which was our body intro style. This one here should probably be body and not body intro. And we should probably make some changes to that because that's not looking good, is it? The colours aren't great for a start. Let's make it a much deeper colour, so it's almost black. And in our font here where we've got extra bold, we'll say no change. Now, what does no change mean? Just a minute, it was bold. It was, and we could go in and say normal. Why do we not do that? Well, it would work. If we look at what's going on in the background, it looks absolutely fine. But remember where this is coming from. No change means no change from what? It means no change from the base style. So if in here I said, yeah, I want that to be normal. I want the font weight to be normal there. And then at the document level, so the base level, I go in and I edit the base. And I think, right, I would like in here to have this. Let's have a look. We'll change the font weight. In fact, no, we won't. It won't let us do that, will it? I wonder why not. That's interesting. But we will make a change in here. So we'll go in and we'll make a change. Right, the change will ripple through. Or it should do, shouldn't it? Oh, we have strangeness going on here. Let's go get this. That should definitely ripple through, unless we made a change in the body. So let's go and have a look what we did in here. We did indeed. We manually formatted the colour in here. But what we're trying to do is look at what no change will give you. And obviously we don't have an option to say no change on the text fill. But what we do have is the ability to take the tick out of the box. And what that does is it's the impact of no change. So if we wanted this to take its style from the base style, that's the way to do it. Take the tick out of the box. We want to override the base style, put a tick in the box, and then choose the colour that you want. So just think of it as a hierarchy, the base style being at the top and everything else coming off that. Right, now, how do we go about making something completely new that looks very different than what we've got, and deliberately we want it very different? And that is this quote here. So imagine that this is your article and you want that quote to really stand out. So first thing we're going to do is go style it, or you could just make a paragraph style. So at this time I'm doing it differently than last time because I'm not actually putting the information in and then making a style. I'm making a style, which is going to be my quote. I'll call it quotes. I don't know if we've already got one called quote. So this is the style I'm going to use for my quotes. What do I want it based on? And you do have an opportunity to base it on nothing. Is that a good idea? Now you might think, well, if it's totally different than anything else, then yes, it is. I don't need it based on anything. So that's how we'll do this one. So in here, we'll start with the character. What font family do we want? Well, I want this as a quote, so I want something like that, a Trajan Pro style thing. And size, what size do I want it? Possibly a little bit bigger than that. Let's have a look. 13, I think. Most important thing with this is the other things that you can do. So we've done the font stuff. We could change the colour of it. Black might be a little bit too much. So we could go in here and no, we don't want those kind of colours, do we? Let's go for one of the greys. Quite dark, but not black. Right, we will go for that one. You can choose whether you have it underlined. I don't think it would add anything to this to have an underline. You certainly don't want it struck through. It's a quote. But with a quote, this is the kind of stuff that starts making it much better. You've got all of these options to work with. Now, do I want to change anything like the baseline or any of this? No. And unless the quotes are in a different language, then I wouldn't particularly need to change these. I have the optical alignment, which is what it looks like, but I'm going to keep going. And you see how many options you have in here. So many options, all of which I'm ignoring. But I am coming down to the paragraph options. At the moment, that's left aligned, and it doesn't look bad, but it would look much better if I had it indented from the left. So I'm going in here and I'm going to indent it. So I've got 10mm on the left. I move this down so you can see as I move from the right, indent it from the right as well. And it's possible that would look better centered, but I'm going to leave it alone for a very good reason. You can, of course, put your space before your space after. So you've got all your spacing options, you've got your tab options. There's a whole range of things that you can do in here. But the most interesting is at the bottom with your decorations. Now, this is decorations on a paragraph. So I'm going to try and move this so we can see everything. The first thing you need to do is enable it. That doesn't actually enable it fully, so I've had to click that twice. Then in here, you can choose. Now, you can have multiple decorations. So at the moment, I'm working out what decoration 1 looks like. And I'm going to put a line on the left-hand side. Now, it's bang up to it, so it doesn't look great in terms of being too close. But if I change the indent, moving it up, it moves into it. So we actually need to take it down, so we're going backwards. And I think if we put that at -2, that looks pretty decent. Nothing to stop you putting another one on the right. So we could move that in. So there's, push it in so it's on the right. And again, do a minus to move it away from the text. And you can carry on doing that by putting one on the top and one on the bottom as well if you want, like these. And then that moves it down into the text, so you need to move it the other way to pull it apart, and the same thing at the bottom. So now you've got an entire square around it, but the beauty of it is You might think, well, that's just a box, isn't it? It is. But what's happening is you've been able to change the spacing so it's not the same in all the places. Whereas with this one at the end, that gives you the fill. So you manually, with these, set each line, top, bottom, left and right. Personally speaking, I think a quote looks better with it on the left, but not necessarily anywhere else. 1 pixel's not bad, but you want it to really draw attention to it. So I'm going to make it much thicker. So now 4 points. Black might be a little bit much, but if it is something that you want to draw attention to, then you can certainly do that with colour. So if it were Mac Bytes, we'd have an orangey thing in there like that. And at that point, you've created another paragraph style. But the most important thing to think about with this is, do you want this based on anything or not? And at this point, the only thing that we could base it on is one of the paragraph styles that we already have. And there's nothing in common with it. So at the moment, don't need to. Not right now. But I will show you down the line a much more advanced way of working with it that actually that might make sense to do just that. But for the moment, we've created a quote style. And there's Steve Jobs in all his glory with a lovely quote. Right, have we got any questions that are pressing at the moment, Mike?
Tony, have you turned me on?
You are turned on. Do I not turn you on all the time, dear?
Poor Tony is trying to get text into his text box. And he's getting help from 1 or 2 people in the chat. But he can't paste the text that he's copied from Word into this text box.
Oh, okay. Should be able to, but Tony, hold that thought, because copying and pasting from Word, not really the way to go. So hang on to that thought, leave that Word document right there, and I will show you how to get a Word document straight in here. Anything else at the moment?
Renee wanted to know if you're talking about paragraph styles, which you have done.
I have. And I'm going to talk about character styles and group styles.
Carol wanted hints for working with multiple monitors.
Oh, I am your woman. 3 of them.
And I think that's it.
Right, we'll talk more about that at the end. Right, okay then. So we've got some styles. At the moment, the one style that we have not actually created is a character style, but we will do that. So let's say we want the Steve Jobs to be different. When you apply a paragraph style, it applies to the entire paragraph. We've ascertained that. But if I wanted the Steve Jobs maybe to just be bold, you don't do that by applying a bold to the entire paragraph. You know, down here we have strong, which is bold, and it's a character style. So it only applies to what you have selected. So if I only had 1 letter selected in there and I made it strong, it would only apply to that individual letter. So that is the difference with the character style. But if you were to go into that character style and edit it, it would have fewer options, but the options in terms of what font it's got, what family it's come from, what colour it is, whether it's bold, italic or underline, all of those are the same. The only things that are missing in this sidebar here are the aspects of style that would only apply to a paragraph. So for instance, you can't align a character. It's going in, you can optically align it, but you can't align it left, right or centre because it's in the middle of another paragraph. But paragraphs can have that kind of alignment and things on them. So anything that you can do with a character will be in this dialog box, and you could set any of these things. What I would use that for, because I've already got emphasis and strong emphasis. So what else would I particularly need? Well, one of the styles I use a lot is when something is important. You'll see that in the newsletters that you get from me. So let's say these letters here, I want to mark them as important. I do that with the URLs and the date and time. So, you know, it's on Friday at 9 o'clock and it will be highlighted in some kind of way. So what I can do with that is one of 2 things. And whichever way you do this, you end up in the same place. It's just a different way of going about it. One option is to style that text and then make a character style. The other option is to make a character style and define what you want it to look like in the dialog box. You will end up in the same place. So I will show you that I'm going to make a character style, and I'm going to call this important. And now I'm going to make the changes. But does this style need to be based on anything? It doesn't really. It could do. It doesn't matter. We'll do it without. So in here we have our font family. Well, I don't need to change that. But bear in mind, it's not actually based on anything at the moment. But what I do need to change is the colour of it. The text fill of it in here, I need to make sure that that is some kind of lurid red. So let's take that all the way up to very, very blinding lurid red. The other thing I'm going to do with it is going in here and changing the font weight. Now, basically you do have access to bold, but you also have in here extra bold and black. I'll go for bold and OK. And that does two things. It creates the character style in the text styles panel, and it formats that text. So if I have other bits of this that I would like to draw attention to, I just need to apply it. And of course, if I decide that the red is too much and I want to put another colour on it, then I can go in and I can edit the style. So if we move it out of the way so we can see it, and we go to colour, we even have an option in here that we could highlight it like that. Now, that might not be the best way to do it. It's going to depend. You might want highlighting available totally separately, in which case it would be a separate character style. But what we've said is if it's important, we want it bright red on a yellow background. Oh, this is a beautiful document, isn't it? It's serving its purpose. It's serving its purpose. Okay, now at that stage, let's have a look what we've got in here, because we've created a bit of a mess, haven't we? Right, I'm going to show you some options that you've got in this dialog box itself that's nothing to do with how it functions in terms of you would still be able to style your documents, just it might make working with your styles a little bit easier. For example, it's easy to see that this is the body style, and it's easy to see the one below it is the body intro style. What is this one with the white square? I have no idea. And this one that's got a big D and then something after it that's that tiny, I can't see it. And what's happening here is if we look at our quote style, we do have the orange banner, but the word quote is so tiny, it's very difficult to read. I would like to be able to group my styles according to function, not alphabetically. That's why I called my body intro, and that was because I knew it sorted it alphabetically, and I want body and body intro to follow on. Just an aside about how we name styles as well. I went for body intro for two reasons. One, I wanted it to appear in this list with body, and two, I wanted it to describe when I was to use it. But what I never want to call a style is by a name that describes what it looks like. So I don't want green body or blue body, because the problem with that is it describes what it looks like, which is great. But if you needed to change the colour, then you need to change all the styles. You need to go in and rename the styles. So you send it off to the client and they said they wanted green and now they want purple. And you've got a million styles in there that say green this and green that. And you then, yes, you can update them, but you also have to update the names. So if you keep the names semantically correct, so describe when it should be used, not what it looks like. Heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. Not green heading or purple heading. If you need multiple headings, then you could have heading primary, heading secondary. You could have heading 2 TOC, table of contents styles. But you're describing what they do and not what they look like. But there are things that you can do within this dialog box to make working with this a whole lot easier than it is right now. I don't really need these styles in this dialog box to try and show me what they look like. Because if I'm looking at body and I'm looking at body intro, my eye has to move across. The reason that this is not left aligned is because the style isn't left aligned, it's center aligned. It's trying to help you. Don't know about you, drives me mad. But from the menu at the top, you have some options. And the second one is show samples. And that is what is making that dialog box look like it looks right now. Take the tick out of that. Oh, peace reigns. Now it's still alphabetical, but I can at least see what these styles are. So this one that was a white square is actually a box style. It's called box. And the bullets are lined up to the left, not indenting as we go. Same with the headings and the numbered ones as well. I find that a little bit easier to work with. Your mileage may vary, but I find that easier. It's more predictable. Everything's left aligned. And because my styles are named semantically, I don't need to know what they look like. You might do if you had 5 quote styles with a different coloured bar, but then you would explain why. So if I'm writing a book about Apple and I'm putting quotes in from Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and another, I might have 3 quote styles. Then instead of saying quote orange, quote green, quote purple, I will have it quote Steve Jobs, quote Steve Wozniak, quote another. And then I don't care what they look like. So if I get a message back, yeah, we like this, but we want to change the colours of the quotes, no problem. They will still apply to Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and another. You'll just redefine what they actually look like. So that's why this, I don't particularly need the preview. But if you do, then it's show samples. I'm used to seeing it like that because that's the default. But to be honest, it doesn't actually add anything as far as I'm concerned. So let's take that off. Right, the other option that you've got in here that is most interesting, which is you have the ability to sort by type. What will happen if you don't sort by type? And what's happened here is that the no style for the character has moved to the top, which means that down here we have our paragraph style for table body underneath the strong and the strong emphasis, which are character styles. So all you've done is say, right, don't group them by style type. Just make the entire list alphabetical. I do tend to keep the styles, the character styles at the bottom. So I would probably leave that set to sort by type. Now, the other options that you've got in here is this top one, which is show hierarchical, which is very interesting. Let's turn that on and see what happens. Now, that's a big difference. That is a big difference. Well, where did everything go? What it's done, remember this business of basing a style on another style. Well, you're now seeing the style tree in here, and at the moment it's folded up. So we've got 2 disclosure triangles. We have one next to base and one next to strong. And we can open that to show styles underneath it. So let's open up base. The body was based on base. We did that. And then inside body, we've got the box, the drop cap, the initial caps. And as I'm doing this, you can see these applying. All of these styles are based on the body style. So we have base at the top level, followed by body. And then all the styles that are based on body. Same with the bullets here. So let's fold up base, and you can see there's no bullets there. But as we open that up and we go to bullets, there is the bullet there, but as we open it, bullet 2 is based on bullet 1. And bullet 3 is based on bullet 2. Now, why would you do this? You would do this because, let's follow the chain through. Let's apply bullet 3. That's what bullet 3 looks like. And it's this little symbol that we've got on the left. And let's go back and look what bullet 2 looks like. That's a square one. And bullet 1, that's pulled back to the left and it's a circle. But by creating a chain of styles here, if you were to change something about bullet 1, then it would ripple through to bullet 2 and bullet 3. So it is actually making your life a whole lot easier by having these styles based on other styles. So let's close up the bullets and look at the headings. Right, we have a heading 1 and we have a heading 2. They are not actually based on anything else though, are they? They're just based on the base style. There. So the parent of heading 1 and heading 2 is the base style. But that is the essence of creating a cascading set of styles. So if you've done any web design, you will have heard of cascading style sheets. And this is a similar principle. It's cascading styles based from a source definition, which is the base, and then you can have it nested by creating style 5 based on 4 and 4 based on 3 and 3 based on 2 and 2 based on 1. That's why I say to you, and I said right back at the beginning, we'll make a style, but this isn't necessarily the best way to do it. The best way to do it is to sit down with a piece of paper and think about it carefully. Because as long as you sort it out in your mind before you start, it'll be easy. The worst thing to do is sit down with a document and think, what do I want this to look like? And start formatting it. And then you're only going to have to unbake the cake when you've finished. Right, what we'll do now is look at another option for this. So I'm going to show you in here how this base style, how we could create all our quotes. We've got quotes here. There's our quote style. Right, it doesn't look like we actually have a style called quote, does it? To check that, it's easier to go back and look at the list of it. We don't have a single quote style. So the first thing I'm going to do is edit that and put quote Steve Jobs. I've just realised it's trying to spell Wozniak. No, leave it alone. Right, so that's the quote we've got for Steve Jobs, and we have defined certain elements of it. Right, the next quote would be similar to that, but it's going to have a different sidebar on it. So let's take it off there before we go any further, because that's starting to look really silly. Let's work on this quote up here. We want to create a new style for it, but we want it to have a different coloured sidebar. Couple of ways of doing that. Same options as we've discussed. Either style this and create a new style, or create a new style and define what it looks like. So I'm going to make a new paragraph style. And you'll see, because I already have Steve Jobs, quote Steve Jobs applied, it's offered me number 1. That's not what I want. I'm going to get away with this by putting Steve W. There we go. Now, it automatically based it on quote Steve Jobs. And it did that because that style was applied. But that's exactly what I want. I want to create a tree of styles where the Steve W style is subordinate to the Steve Jobs style. So far, so good. The only change I need to make is to the decorations that are on it. So I want to change the decoration. In fact, what I actually need to do is just change the colour. I just need to make one change. So let's have this a lovely green colour. And that's it. So I'm going to click OK. So I have my 2 styles down here. Next one I need to do, let's make another one. And this one is going to be another, whoever else we quote from Apple, another. Right. Now, this time it's based it on Steve W. You could go down chaining like that, but that usually only makes sense in terms of headings. Headings 1, 2, 3, 4. So actually, I'm going to base it on Steve Jobs. Go down to the decoration and change it. Change the stroke from green, and we'll have it a lovely blue colour. Like that. And OK. So what we've now got in here is the another quote, we've got the Steve Jobs quote, and we've got the Steve Wozniak quote. Let's have a look at what that looks like in the hierarchy. We based both of these, the Steve W and the another, on the Steve Jobs style. Hence, that one becomes a master style with a toggle that you open, and it shows you the styles that are based on that style. That is incredibly powerful. And that is how this hierarchy is built. But there is a little bit of a limitation with that, in that it only makes sense if you do it with things like headings, where they're supposed to be grouped together. So just to show you how to do that with a heading. Right, we'll have a heading 1. And do you need me to push any buttons here at all, Mike? Right, I'll leave you to it. Right, there's a heading 1, and I'm going to go down here and I'm going to put a heading 2. And let's go and get a heading 3 while we're at it. Right, so one more time with this, and I think headings will hopefully make it much easier for you.
I know it says Craig Federici is worth quoting.
Yeah, Craig. Craig is one of these people like Cher and Madonna. He only needs one name, luckily, because there's no way I'm spelling his surname. Right, but what we'll do in here is we will create a similar thing with the headings. Now, we already have a heading 1 and a heading 2, but they might not look like I want them to look, and I want to start completely from scratch. So, how do you delete a heading? Very simple. Right click, and you have an option to delete. And down the bottom, let's go get heading 2, you have a bin icon, and you can delete them from there. So now we have no headings. How would we set this up properly? So I'm going to take away the hierarchy and go and format the headings. So we'll do this one going across the top, where I'm looking for Trajan Pro. Right, change that. Next thing to be changed, in fact it's not changed at all, has it? Let's do that again. Trajan. And make it bigger, because obviously it's a heading, so we want the first heading quite large. And do we need anything else doing? Let's make it bold. We could do the colour thing, couldn't we? But let's not go crazy. Let's not go too crazy. Okay, so we've defined that, but it's not a style yet. But to make it a style, fairly simple. Go in there, and that's going to be our heading 1. Do we want this based on the body? And I think we do if we think about the hierarchy we're trying to create. And down the bottom, it says it's going to be the body style, and these are going to be the changes that you've made, which is quite right. And I will just then, one thing to think about that we've not looked at yet. If this is the heading 1, what's likely to be the next level? And it could be one of two things. It could be heading 2, or it could be the body text. More often than not, it's probably going to be the body text. I'll show you why that's important. We'll just click OK at the moment. There's a heading 1, and it's got that applied. And I press enter, and I start typing, and it's another heading 1. That's not really what we would want. What we would have to do in those circumstances is go here and think, oh, I didn't want that, I wanted the body style, and then go back and apply the body style. Don't want that. No, that's far too manual. So what we'll do is we will get rid of that, go back to our heading 1, and in our heading 1 definition, we will edit it so it's based on body, but the next style to automatically be applied, because remember, we're creating a chain, the next style that I want is the body style. And OK that. Difference now is I'm up here in my heading 1, I press enter, and now I'm typing in the body style. So if you set this up correctly, your life is going to be so much easier. Right, we now need to make the heading 2 and the heading 3 and work out what we're actually going to do with that. So let's go and do that right now. So we've already got the text of heading 2, but it doesn't look like we want it to look. We will create a new style, and we'll move this out of the way so you can see what's going on. Do we want this, which is going to be heading 2, so let's put the name in. Do we want it to be based on body? Not directly, no. I'll show you why. We'll base it on heading 1, which formats it instantly to heading 1. We do need to make some changes to it. We need to go into the, where are we, character, and we need to make some changes to the size. So I can do that by actually just looking at it and eyeballing it, because I can see what's happening behind. So the only change for heading 2 from heading 1 is the size of it. So let's click OK. And then we'll go down to heading 3 and do exactly the same. So go in here, and we will base this on heading 2. Now we're creating a chain. The next style would be body. I don't think we did that on the last one, but I will fix it. So this is a heading 3. And again, the only change that I need to make to that is eyeball what the font is going to look like. So we'll make that, oh, I think a 14 or 15 will do in there. Okay. So let's go back to heading 2. I think I missed out there that I want the next style to be body. And we've created a full chain of styles, which you can visualize when you show your hierarchy. So we have in our base styles, let's fold all these up, open the base, and in there we should have our headings. Where on earth have our headings disappeared to? Are they underneath body? There's heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3. So we have the grandparent, the parent, and the child. Oh, and the great-grandparent, which is at the top. So, in here, this is why you would do this chaining thing. I want to change the font of all the headings. Now, I can't do that in the base style because the font was an exception. But because there is a chain of styles, 1, 2, and 3, instead of going in and changing the font on each individual style, which you would have to do if it was at the same level in here, I can go to the highest level that I want to change the font of and edit it. Which is why you need to think of your styles in a hierarchy. So in here, we have a font family. But I can go in here and change this, and all 3 change. Because 3 is based on 2 and 2 is based on 1, and we have this whole chaining thing going on. Oh, should we have it more MacBitesy? There we go. I can also in here change the colour. So if we are indeed going MacBitesy, we need to bring some orange up somewhere, don't we? Like that. And again, because I set 3 based on 2 and 2 based on 1, if I make the changes to 1, it ripples through. This is going to save you so much time. Oh, I see a question there that's probably worth mentioning at this point, which is, it's just moved. How can I make the space between the heading and the body smaller? I would guess on that there is some formatting somewhere. So let's go in here and edit that. And somewhere in here, it might be in here, it might be in the body. Well, there's our spacing. So let's have a look what we've got in here. Yeah, it's pulling it through. So there's nothing changed there. That's our indents and our space before and after. So one thing we'd have to think about is if you wanted to change that, where's it coming from? To do that, you need to look at the style and see where it's coming from. And it's coming from the body. So it must be set in the body somewhere. But because we would want that as an exception in the headings, let's have a look what happens if we go in here. So once I click it, it says, right, there's 12 points after. But if I were to take that down, that would solve a problem. And I just click OK, and it rippled through again. Because of the hierarchical chain that we created, it rippled through, and we update them all. So hopefully that answers that question for you. Right, so far so good. We're going to introduce another type of style here, but we're going to do it by getting rid of some of the things we've already got in here because it's starting to look ridiculous. Right, you can completely get rid of styles. I'm going to go back to the standard list so we can see an entire list of them. Some of these styles are in use and some of them are not. Our body style's in use, importance in use, one of the quotes is in use, 3 of the headings is in use. But, you know, things like numbered and other kind of stuff in here we're not using. So when you've completed your document, there's no point having styles lying around that aren't in use. So what you can do is you can get rid of some of those. You have some options up here. You can delete unused styles, which is going to only delete the styles that are not in use, which is the only one that I would recommend really. But you have other options to detach and delete all the styles. Now, what detach and delete does as compared to this, let's just delete the unused. And that leaves us with only the styles that are in use. So it's easier now to carry on formatting that document because you know these are the only styles that you need. But be careful of this option, which is detaching and deleting, because what that will do is it will leave the text looking identical, but it will detach the styles from the document and it will delete them. which would be bad news, wouldn't it? So what I'll do is I will save that first. It's having a rare old think about it. Right. That means something to me. Right. So up here, detach and delete. This is the nuclear option in more ways than one. It doesn't look like it's made a difference, but you've lost all of the styles. You are only left with no style. And more significantly, you've lost your base style as well. It really has nuked the lot. I can't see a need to do that myself, ever. Unless you get something from somebody else maybe that's that horrific, you decide to start from scratch. I still don't think I would do it that way. Luckily, the undo does work. So if you want to try it, you know, like when we say don't touch that, when your parent says don't touch that, and you do, the undo does work. You can bring it back. So that's how you actually get rid of the styles in there. You have two more options in here, which I'll mention. You can save the styles as the default. So if you have, and do think carefully with this, if you have a set of styles that's your default styles, that you always use those styles, then that's one way to do it. But remember that you're setting that globally within this installation of Affinity Publisher. Your Affinity Publisher on another machine will be totally unaware of that. So another way to do the same thing, or a very similar thing, the styles that you're setting as a default will only be a default when you say File New. But you have the ability to create templates, and templates can contain a unique set of styles or a generic set of styles that are always the styles that you start with. If they don't look identical in a template, you could have 5 templates with 5 completely different looks, but the names of the styles are the same because heading 1 is heading 1 and heading 2 is heading 2 and heading 3 is heading 3. But they look different in all of the documents. But doing that gives you a consistency between your documents, which means irrespective of whether you're doing the church newsletter or one for the local children's playgroup, one can look very churchy come traditional and the other can look really engaging for young minds. But the style names are identical, and the way you do that is to have different templates. To make them the default in here, if you always want the same ones, then do that. But to me, no, I don't bother with that. I just leave them alone. And I'll show you importing towards the end. Right, so what we really need to do with this is I've got this so it's set up with just these particular styles, but I'm really thinking it would be a good idea to totally start from scratch. So if I take all of this text, this should show you that the copy and paste does actually work. I've copied it. And I go and get a new file, and I'm going to put it in here by putting a text frame ready to catch the text, and then I'm going to paste in plain text. So I've copied it, but I pasted it in as plain text. Will the styles travel with the document? Yes, they do. They do. So they would travel with the template, and then when you've created a document based on that template, all the styles would live in that document. So we've got the default styles over here yet again, which I'm not particularly concerned about. Obviously, we're going to need a body style. I'm going to need some others in terms of headings and things. But what I'm thinking of, let's just make it a lot simpler. Let's say we only really need, let's get rid of these. Oh, what are we doing here? I don't particularly want to nuke the lot, but I don't particularly want half of these lying around either. Like drop cap, we don't particularly need. Not at the moment. I'm looking for the headings, I'm looking for the bullets. Don't think we need a line above either. So I would go through this and I would particularly tidy this up. Just getting rid of some of these. But what isn't in here is my quote styles. Now I might have different styles that it does make sense to put like the headings where they're nested. So heading 1 and heading 2 is based on 1 and 3 is based on 2. But sometimes I might have content that looks very different. So let's say these quotes actually look really different. So we've got a quote up here, but we haven't actually got it formatted. So we will make our quote. And that'll be our Steve quote. All right. Not particularly, doesn't need to be based on anything, but I probably do need it to look slightly different here. So we will make it Trajan. And we need it a little bit bigger than that, like that. And I could then go down and put the decoration on it. So make sure that's enabled. Put it on the left. Take it out a couple of millimeters. Make it thicker. Not quite that thick. I think we had it 3 or 4, didn't we? And put a colour on that. Like, oh dear, that's not good, is it? There we can have a purpley pink one. Right. So I've now got my style. That's my first quote, and you know that I can create nested quotes. But let's say that I want to work through this document and I want to work as fast as I possibly can with the styles and know where everything is. You have the ability to make a new style. So you can see down here you've got your paragraph style, your character style, and you have the ability to create a group style. It looks identical, but what's a group style? So what I'm going to do with a group style is let's put in here, now what could this be? You create a group in a way that you would create a group in the Finder system. You create a folder and you put content in it. And what goes in that folder? Related information. So if you think of a group style as being a group, a folder, you would want in here related information. There is a reason that we would do things this way though. So I'm going to say here, this is going to be my quotes. And I don't need it based on anything. But what I will do is make the font family what I want the font family to be and the size what I want this to be. And I'll put my decorations in it. So in terms of what you can actually specify in here, exactly the same as everywhere else. Isn't it weird? It'll become even weirder when I show you that you cannot apply a group style to your text. So what are you creating it for? I know. And you'll notice as I'm doing this, it's not changing behind here either. So this is all weirdness, isn't it? Right. So I have my quotes, which is at the top. And I have my Steve quote down here. Why is this at the top? Well, if you look at it, next to it, it has no symbol. The paragraph styles have the Pilcrow symbol, and the character styles have the A that's underlined. But my quote style has nothing, and that's because it's a group style. So back to my Steve Jobs quote down here. Why have we bothered doing all of this? Right, I'm going to show you this here. Right, this at the moment isn't based on anything else. But we know that we can base this on things. And one of the things we can base it on is the group style. So I'll base it on the group style. Nothing seems to have happened. That's because we went through here and we specified all of this. We said 15, we said Trajan Pro. But if I just make this say no change, so let's get that back to no change. And in our decorations down here, let's just make that no change. So if we disable that entirely, no, that isn't going to work, is it? It should be. It should do. Can we get that halfway? There we go. Got it halfway. Which is what that's saying is it's enabled, but not for editing in here. Pull through what's specified at the group level is what that means. Right, now all of that is based on this quotes group style. Why is this important? Its real importance will come down the line. But in here, I'm going to change one more thing. I'm going to edit that so it doesn't say quote, it just says Steve Jobs. Now remember why I wanted it to say quote at the beginning. Why I wanted it to say quote was so it was in alphabetical order in my list. But you'll notice that because the quotes group style is at the top, it wouldn't have been in alphabetical order anyway. So now I can just call my style what I want it to be called, which is Steve Jobs. Hold on to this, it will all make sense. Right, I'm going to make a new paragraph style, and this one is going to be my Stevie W one. Is it based on Steve Jobs? No, it's not. It's going to be based on the quotes one, which is the group. Do I need to make any changes to that? And I probably do. In the decorations, I could do with making it a different colour. So in here, we'll make that a green one and OK that. So we have Steve Jobs and we have our Steve W. I will, for completeness, make another one. Which, you said Craig, didn't you? Yeah, I'm not going for the surname, not happening. But I will put an F in. And in there, make a change. What colour should he be? Oh, he's in touch with his feminine side. Let's make it pink. I loathe pink, but we'll do it anyway. Okay, so we've got our styles in there, and they're all over the place. That would be difficult to work with, but for one feature of the group style. So I know that Steve Jobs is one quote, Steve W is another, and Craig F is another, but now they're all over the place. But they were all based on quotes. So let me just make sure that this one was. Did we? I don't think we did, you know. That's based on Steve Jobs, and we don't want that. We want it based on quotes. There we go. So now all of those are the same. But the beauty of the group style is, when we go up to the top and we show the hierarchy, we have in here now a quote section. So let's fold everything up. We've got quotes. And when we open our quotes, there are our quotes, and they're alphabetical within the group, which is just like having a folder structure within my text styles, and I love that. So if we apply the Craig one, let's get something selected. I don't know why that's so tiny. Did I do that? I probably did. Let's have a look. Did I make a mistake? I did. Good grief. I meant no change. Right, that's better. Now it's working. But I've obviously made some mistake somewhere. So let me go and see what I've actually done here. Is that one right? That one's right. No changes. Have I made a mess somewhere? Looks like I have. We've got a font. Yes, we've got a font family, which we don't want. We want no change. So they all match, and we don't want it 5 either. We want it no change. And I think I've done something else somewhere, haven't I? What have I got on here? Let's have a look. That one's right. That one's right. This one, not right. So let's have a look what I've done in here. Will you just leave that to no change? And let's get the font size. Right, okay. Leave it be. Right, there we go. One thing that I haven't done correctly is in there, you can see we've got the colours. That's absolutely fine. But it's a bit skinny. So in the group one, I'm going to go and edit that and come down to the decorations and make it thicker. So let's take that up to 4 and OK. That doesn't seem to have come through with these, but it has done with the first one. So I'd have to have a look at that because I think it should. But because we've made an exception with the colour, it might not go down to that level of granularity. But you get the principle with this. Now you've got the best of both worlds. You can call the styles what makes sense to you. You can have them grouped together in a group. You can make changes to the group and it ripples through to the styles underneath. The benefit of that is they don't all have to be based on each other. They're all based on the group style. There isn't much information out there about group styles. It's kind of thrown in and ignored. But they're very powerful and very useful if you turn on the hierarchy. Okay, so we have styles. We have done the adding, we've done the editing, we've done the deleting. Let's get another new document and have a look at what we need to do. Let me just check we've done everything. We have. So we're moving on to working with Word. Oh, joy. No, come on. We all love Word, don't we? Right, I thought I had a Word document. It would appear to have disappeared. That's helpful, isn't it? Not. Never mind. Let's go into Word and create a document. You can never have too much fun, can you, with Word? Right, so I'm just going to get a basic Word document. Here it is. And at the moment, there are some styles in this document. Don't know how much you know about Word, but these are the styles that are available in this document over here. So, I wonder if the equals rand thing still works. If you don't know, was there a comma in the equals rand thing, Mike? There we go. If you didn't know about that, it gives you some text that you can then play with. Just format it. It's just random text. It's equals rand, put a number in, comma, put a number in. And it gives you a certain number of sentences within a certain number of paragraphs. Have a play with it. It's grand. Okay, so here I'm going to put in just some headings. So we'll put heading 1, we will move down here, and we will put heading 2. And go on, we'll put a heading 3 further down. Now, we do have these things already defined. So a heading 1 looks like that, and a heading 2 looks like that. As soon as I apply a heading 2, heading 3 becomes available. You'll look over there at the moment, and you will see we do not have a heading 4. But if I apply heading 3, heading 4 appears. Oh, it's like magic. Or it'll drive you insane because you'll want to apply a heading 3 and you haven't got a 2 and then you can't see the 3. This is Word helping you. Right, so we've got some stuff in there. Let's put some styles on these. So we will put a strong on there. We will grab some of these, and everything that you've learnt in Affinity Publisher applies here. Let's put some of that on it. In terms of, you have paragraph styles, you have character styles, and we have applied some of them, and you can edit them. So if we wanted our heading 1 in there, you have a modify style option. If we wanted that to be a different colour, you can do that from in here. So let's make that a green colour. And that will ripple through. So there's our document. I'm going to save that document to the desktop. Word file. And what we want to do is bring that into Affinity Publisher. Preferably with all of the styles intact. So remember what I've done over here. I have actually created a brand new document and I've got all of these styles in it. Now this is a circumstance where you might want to nuke the whole lot because you're bringing a Word document in. So I'm going to detach and delete all the styles just to see what happens because we can. So File and Place. And what I want to place is the Word document that I put on the desktop, and open that. And I will click and it will place it. So let's stretch that out there and have a quick look at it. There's our green heading 1, there's our heading 2 and our heading 3. And we also had some emphasis down here. So we had the blue text and we had what is in essence just bold. And what we have over here is a hierarchy that has appeared. So first of all, I'll show you this in the standard way if you're not using the hierarchy. It's brought in all the styles you were using, but no more. So in Word, you saw we had a whole raft of styles. We didn't want them all bringing in because we weren't using them. But we have used a heading 1, 2, 3. The normal style, because there is always a normal style in Word. And the 2 character styles we used, which is the intense emphasis and the strong, and the whole lot has just come in and it's fantastic. Now, if we turn on the hierarchy, you can see that normal in Word is the equivalent of our body style in Affinity Publisher. And the heading styles are all nested underneath normal because that's the way that Word did it. And then we have our character styles at the bottom. But very, very simple to bring in whatever you have got in a Word file. Whether you would want to nuke the styles in here first would depend on if you were starting from scratch or if you had a set of styles that you wanted to use. But there you go. So I will save that as Word imported. And we're going to head out while I explain something for the next bit. So let's get rid of that. And I think we saved that. Let's get rid of that. Oh, and we'll get rid of that as well, but I will save it just in case. Never know, we might need to go back on it. Right. So, going back into here. Right, Scrivener, if you're working with Scrivener. Now, I'm talking about Scrivener 3. Scrivener 3 for Mac came out November 2017. Scrivener 3 for Windows was released only last month. Had a bit of a long gestation. But I'm talking about version 3. Now, in Scrivener, there is a concept of editing and a concept of compiling. Editing is when you're working inside Scrivener and you're formatting it in whatever way you like. But the thing is, there is a huge difference between editing and compiling. If you wanted purple text on a green background, Scrivener would be quite happy to do that. But when it came to compile, if you wanted it sky blue pink with green polka dots, that's fine too. So how it looks when you're editing it can be identical to how it looks when you compile it, but it doesn't need to be. So the trick here is with the compiling, because you cannot take a Scrivener file and just place that into Affinity Publisher. It doesn't work that way. What you need to do with Scrivener is you have Scrivener on one side and you have the compile feature that sits between Scrivener and an entire range of output files. So directly from Scrivener, you can create EPUB, Kindle files, PDFs, Word files, XML files. One file I haven't listed on there, but that I do, is you can make an email directly from Scrivener. So Scrivener sits open most of the week. We're probably sending about, well, there's 7 reminders for a start for Marooned Up by its headquarters. So I create that file, it lands on the desktop, and that's the file that gets emailed. So there's a whole range of output formats. But you cannot take it straight from Scrivener into Affinity Publisher. And what I've been told when people have asked questions is, but I like how I edit in Scrivener and I want to take that into Affinity Publisher as the final output. Luckily, that desire does not change anything in terms of how everything works. So you have Scrivener on one side, you have Affinity Publisher on the other, and you just need a way to transfer it. And the way that you transfer it is Word. The trick is you need to use an intermediate format that Scrivener can write to and that Publisher can read from. And that is either Word or RTF. So let's go and have a look at that. So we need Scrivener. And I've no idea what I had open. Let's have a look what I've got open. I've got my email generator open, which is not useful. But I'm going to open one which is the Christmas Carol one that I have used in demonstrations before. So if you are not aware of what you are actually looking at here, Scrivener has the concept of a binder. So the binder is on the left-hand side. And I've used the novel format template here. So this is why I've got this extra stuff explaining how to use it. That's available from within Scrivener. Then I have the manuscript, and the manuscript is the entire book. The extra bits that I've got are not part of the book. Now remember, at this point, this is Charles Dickens writing the book. Oh, can you imagine how prolific he would have been if he'd have had Scrivener? You have extra information in here, like all of the character sheets, which some have got stuff in, some haven't. You've got the places that are in here. So this is if you were writing this book and you were thinking, you know, oh, Fezziwigs, right, the season was Christmas and it was joyous, a happy place to work. It gets you in the right zone for creating. But the actual novel itself is within the manuscript. It's only the manuscript you're working with. So in here we have the preface, which is that bit there. Each bit is broken up into a scrivening or a document, which is in the binder on the left-hand side. So we have the entire chapter, which in Christmas Carol is called a stave. This is the entire chapter. But within here, you see these dotted lines? The dotted lines are where the scenes start and end. So it's split up into individual scenes as well. So before we get this into our beautiful layout program, we need to get it out of here in some meaningful kind of way. Now, first thing to think about, we do have styles in Scrivener now. We didn't have, but we do now. It's a long, complicated story. But in here, we do have a heading 1 and we do have a heading 2. And I put them in colour, and I've only done like 2 things because this is not about Scrivener, it's about Affinity Publisher and how you get this into there. But you do have styles. They work a similar kind of way. You have paragraph styles, you have character styles, and you can see them all. That was handy. Opened up on the other screen. Let's bring that all the way back over here. You have character styles and you have paragraph styles. So once you understand the principles of this, as you go, they're very, very similar. It's easy to transfer from one application to another. So I do have some styles in here. Right, just to prove a point, if I take hold of this, which is a H2, and I decide to change the colour of it, it does not automatically update, but this is a heading 2. So if I go into my styles panel, I can see that my heading 2 is green. But there is nothing to stop me saying redefine the paragraph style from the selection. I'll click OK, it will update it, but there is this update process. It does do it. So if we go back to green on that and do that again, let's update that from the selection. Don't make it be the whole thing. Perfect. Right. So we're ready to go. All we need to do is compile this, which is File, Compile from the menu, or Command, Option and E. First thing you need to think of up here is what format you are taking it out for, and there's a whole range of them, but we already know we want it to be a Word document. And then you can have this formatted any way you want. So it could be an outline, it could be an indented outline, it could be a full manuscript. And these manuscripts are actually the format that a publisher would want it in. But you can see, you know, yeah, but I used colour and things. Yeah, it'll just ignore it. It'll ignore it on the output based on what you choose over here. But I'm keeping it simple, going for the default. Now, when you look at what this actually says, the main text formatting will be based on how the text looks in the editor. So those styles that were red and green should come through. Right. The way this works in here is that you have 3 elements to it to format. But like I say, don't worry about the compile. That's a whole 10-hour course in itself. But in essence, what you've got is you choose your format. First of all, you choose the output format. Then you choose your format. Then in this bit here, it shows you what that layout is going to look like. So you don't have to do anything with that. And the last piece that you have to do is tell it which parts of your manuscript do you want included. So at the moment, you can choose whether you have the entire manuscript, whether you have stave 1, 5, the current selection, do a search thing, but we want the entire manuscript. You can still be more granular. If you don't want that opening scene, you're not happy with it, you can take the tick out of the box. But obviously we want the entire thing, all of that lot. And all I need to do is hit compile. So actually I didn't need to make any changes in that whatsoever. And I will put that on the desktop. And as I say, yeah, we know the page numbers need to be updated because there's no concept of pages in Scrivener. But that is all we need to do with Scrivener. Do not get hung up on Scrivener. A session on Scrivener is an entirely separate thing. But in here, we need a new document. We need it A4. We need to have somewhere to put the content. And I will toggle off the background so it's nice and neat. And all we need to do is exactly what we did with a Word document, which is File, Place. And in here, it's one of these. No, on the desktop. There is our Christmas Carol. And we will open it up. And it comes through. Now, it's doing a couple of other things. But the things we're interested in is that our heading 1 has come through into the styles, and our heading 2 has come through into the styles. The extra bits it's doing is to do with how Scrivener works, which is we've got preface at the beginning and we definitely don't want that, and we probably don't want contents here either. What it's doing is it's taking from our structure over here, the word preface, contents and the staves, it's taking the title and putting that into the output. Most of the time, you want that. Like Marley's Ghost, you want that. But there's 2 occasions here you don't. And all you need to do is just delete it. And then you can set about laying it out however you would like it laid out. But it's come from Scrivener via an interpreter, Word, that has said to Scrivener, okay, give me everything you've got, including the styles, the page names, the whole bit. I'll format it all, and then Publisher, as you've inserted the Word file, it's interpreted everything that was in the Word file, and it works fabulously. Right, let's get back into here. Right, Word. Do you need Microsoft Word to make that work? No, you don't. not at all. You're only using the file format to transfer the styles from Scrivener to Affinity Publisher. You do not need Word at all to open it. Now, if you want more on Scrivener, that's a whole different business, as I've just said. But there is a video that is on YouTube. Mike will post the link in. It's an hour and 47 minutes of all of the new features that were new in Scrivener for Mac when it came out. I also have a Scrivener course on Udemy all about styles and how to save time automating the styles in Scrivener. I did that because it's quite complicated. Oh, excellent. Right, that course covers what a style is, because although there are similarities in terms of paragraph styles and character styles and all the rest of it, how it actually works in each application is slightly different. It also covers how styles are implemented in Scrivener, and applying them, editing them, creating custom styles, updating, removing, navigating, and transferring entire style libraries. I think there is a sale on this week. I do believe it's usually £34.99. But if you use the link that Mike's going to put in, which is an affiliate link, and there is a QR code there, I do think there is a discount on it. So if you are interested in that, feel free. Right, so let's head out to our wrap-up, our recap. What did we do? Right, we discussed the fact that styles are not text styles, not the same thing entirely. They are object styles, where you make objects look fabulous, but that's not bold, italic and underline. Then we have paragraph styles, character styles, group styles. Those are the type of styles that you have in Affinity Publisher, despite the fact the slide says photo. And the group styles enable you to create that hierarchy in the panel. The base style is incredibly useful, because if you base things on the base style, you can ripple a change through your entire document. We created styles, we edited styles, we deleted styles in two different ways. Took a standard Word file and imported that, and then did a compile from Scrivener and imported that. So hopefully that answers most of the questions you've got about styles, but I'm sure you'll have some, and we'll come to that in the Q&A. But we are in the middle of Mad May. This is actually the middle week of Mad May, where we're going live every Sunday and on demand afterwards. So this will be available as soon as we have finished on demand. Next week, we are looking at creating and managing assets in Affinity Publisher. The following week, we've got a build with me, but we've not actually decided what yet. But it'll be fabulous, I can assure you. I'll take on board anything that you want to build and try and build some kind of hybrid of it. We started with Deep Dive Data Merge in Affinity Publisher, which was great fun. And I know some of you followed along and have actually done your first data merge. And then last week we looked at working with images in Affinity Publisher. That is also available on demand. As are all the recordings from Mad March, where we did the export persona in Affinity Designer. Love that, my favourite feature. We also did blend modes. I have visions of the image from France that I did. Then we did create creative tables in Affinity Publisher, still racing ahead in terms of views, that one. We followed that with mastering master pages. And we then did Adobe Bridge, which, you know, it was free, so that's why we did it. It's a good application. I know it's Adobe, but we're still waiting for the Affinity Digital Asset Manager. It'll be here soon. Okay, everything that I do you will find on youtube.com/ElaineGiles. Do subscribe, and don't forget you have that option to hit the notification bell and you'll be notified of all the things that I do. If you'd like to get in touch with me, I am available on YouTube and LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook. And there's also on elainegiles.co.uk a contact form, and you can hit me up there. I would love to hear from you. Do you know what else I would love from you guys? Put a comment under the video. I'm very bereft of comments. I don't know why. Nobody wants to talk to me. Put a comment underneath the video when it's done. But I think you can put a comment now, can't you? You can't put a comment before we start, which is most annoying because we have lots of things to talk about. But put a comment in. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Right. You can't put a comment in right now. Ludicrous. Well, when I've finished, you can. So come back. because we love you guys. And if you've enjoyed it today, learnt anything today, give us a like, because it really makes a difference. You want to hear about what we've got coming up? Go to elainegiles.com/VIP. And that is our VIP mailing list. Now, what you do get on there is timestamps to specific parts of the videos when we're done, and I will be sending some of those out this week. So make sure that you are subscribed. But it's now time for Q&A. So, do we have a lot of questions in here? Right, in that case, I need to move from my running order, don't I, to where the questions are. They're in there somewhere. No one can hear you at the minute, but if you... Mike wants to read them. Right, they can hear you, Mike. So you hit me up with the first question.
Right, let's start from the bottom this time.
Oh, just for a change?
For a change. Carol says, where would I find the previous build with me's?
For what, Carol? Were they Affinity ones? We did some build with me's for Notion. I don't think we've actually had a... If we have, it's going to be in After Hours somewhere. So let me have a look through that. Put that down as a follow-up, Mike.
Yeah, Kim said Matt Bites After Hours for sure.
Yes, but I'm trying to think how many build with me's did we do with Affinity? We did 1 million in Notion. We probably did do some. I'd have to dig my list out. So Carol, Mike is putting that in right now as an action item.
There we go. It's an action item.
Right. Okay. So we're starting at the bottom, are we, with Zorba Press?
Right. Carol now wants to know if you have a list of videos that include craft. I will add that as a second action for you.
That's me working till Wednesday with no sleep. Yeah, I think we've done craft 4 times. We did. What happened with craft was we started off with a basic thing, right? Which was, craft's out, it's new, it's shiny, it's quite nice. And then that week, as I was working through it, I thought, I'm going to take a subscription to this. It's that good. So the 5 minutes, let's have a quick look at it and move on demo became like a 45-minute, let's deep dive this. The following week, they did an update, and we covered the iPad version. Then there was another update, so we covered that. And virtually every couple of weeks there's an update, and they're adding something that's amazing. So I will make a list of those. Not a problem, Carol. Not a problem. It's on the to-do list together with replying and sending you the thing from Friday. So you'll know when I'm up to date.
Right, Rene is trying to cheat the system. He wants to give more than one like. Peter Williamson says, log in, log out, log back in again, like again, rinse and repeat. Peter, that won't work because it knows who you are. And if you've liked it, this is a warning. If you've liked it and then you click like again, it takes that like away, and that would make it like that would bring tears before bedtime at Matt Bites headquarters.
Oh, it's my birthday this week. Go on, put a like on it, but only one. The only way you can do that is to
have more than one Google account.
Yeah, if you've got more than one Google account, you can do that. But other than that, you can only put one like on it. But if everybody put one like on it, that would be cool.
Just in case anyone missed what Elaine just said, it's her birthday on Wednesday.
It is, and what I'd like for my birthday is a comment and a like.
At least one comment and like.
Right,
let's get back to this. Okay, Kim said, will styles travel with a document? But you answered that.
I did.
Carol Leather says, happy birthday in the chat.
Thank you.
Luxury Card Store says, I'm new here. What is craft? Do you want to?
Craft is a note-taking app. So if you think in terms of Evernote, which takes notes, Craft is a new note-taking app. It's kind of a hybrid between Evernote, where you've got a structure. So you have notebooks and you have stacks of notebooks and you put your notes into a notebook. It's a hybrid between that and networked thinking apps, which would be Roam or Obsidian. So you can have tags and navigate that way. You don't have to navigate just by the structure. But in essence, it is a block-taking, note-taking app. So the what you have in your notes are blocks. You can have blocks of text, blocks of bullet points. You can put graphics in it. You can put videos in it. You can put links in it. And the reason it's doing so well at the moment is it was designed for iPad. which not many note-taking apps are. Most note-taking apps on iPad are shockingly poor. But Craft is beautiful. It is buttery smooth, in Steve's words. It really is. They've also kind of then taken it back to the Mac, added the features on the Mac that make sense to have on the Mac, but in essence it is as good on the Mac as it is on the iPad, which is highly unusual these days. If you are on Windows or another operating platform, they have currently got a beta of the web version of it as well that you can get access to. But short version, it's a note-taking app. Longer version, it's fabulous.
It's craft.do, isn't it?
Craft.do.
Yeah, there you go. Right, Zorba says, I've always worked in black colour text. If these colours in the headings are used to make ebooks for Amazon Kindle, when the ebook goes to Kindle, does it keep the colours?
Oh.
Now, somebody said that if you tell Amazon that you want to pay for colour...
I'm just thinking, the thing with Publisher is it does not do a good job exporting to EPUB. Before we go any further, it was conceived to be output to paper or PDF, so there is no send it to make me an EPUB option with it. It can be done, and whether it would retain the style or not would depend on how you output it from Publisher. So when you come to output it from Publisher, you could really do with it in a format. The styles in an EPUB will be CSS. And I can't make any promises, but I would think version 2 of Affinity Publisher, that's one of the features that they could actually add. But the short version is it doesn't export it very well. The longer version is if you can actually get it out in a format that Kindle or EPUB would like, then yes, you can take that with it. But you take it with it in terms of CSS rather than being a format within Publisher. So it's a bit tricky at the moment. It's not 100% on the export of that. But yes, technically speaking, the headings could go with it, depending on how you're actually outputting it. Right, next one.
Okay, Kay said, can you make the font size a percentage of the parent style?
I have never done that. Let's have a look. See what we can do with it. Right, so we want, for example, that to be a percentage of this. Let's go in and edit the heading 1 on this and make it much bigger. So in here, instead of 18, we will have it much bigger, like that. And then let's say we want this style, which is the heading 2. Now, which was based on which here? We do not have that there. We'll base this one on something, and then we'll do it from there. So in here, where it's based on nothing, we will base it on the heading 1, and then go to the font and then try and make it a percentage. No, it doesn't look like you can do that, because you're choosing it from in here, so it's just a point. So I think the answer to that one is no. Is that a big crisis? Let me know. Right, what else have we got?
Okay. Dalibor says, are styles defined per document or per application? And Rene said he'd like to know, if possible, to create application styles.
Yes, it is. Right, okay. So are the initial styles when you open a brand new document? Was that the question?
Yeah, there's a question further up. That was a secondary question.
Got you. Okay. Right. Are styles defined per document or per application? They can be done in both ways. In fact, there's a third way. You can define your styles within a document. You can set the default styles globally for Affinity Publisher itself on a per machine basis. And you can also have a distinctly separate set of styles in a template. So there's 3 different ways to do that. They can be defined per document, per template, or per install of Affinity Publisher. So hopefully that answered that question.
Okay. Carol asked for hints on working with multiple monitors.
Right, in terms of what?
I don't know. She just said she's got a new one coming next week. Do you have any tips? Rene said make sure it's at the highest resolution.
Yeah, you may find first thing I would do setting it up is make a decision on how you're going to connect it. And that might sound ridiculous, but I had 2 monitors arrive. It was a bit of a saga. They were thrown over the fence. Literally 6-foot drop on the other side. But they were fine.
With a fragile sticker.
With a fragile sticker right across it. I must dig that out. It was classic. But they arrived, and I had always connected my monitors with a VGA cable. Because just going back, that was what was on the back, and that was what I connected. And I connected this monitor, and the colour was atrocious. No matter what I did with it, I could not get it looking half decent. So what I decided was I would whip out and get a HDMI cable and see if that made a difference. And the HDMI cable made a world of a difference. So first of all, however you're going to connect it, if it doesn't look great, try a different connection. Changing to HDMI served me well. If it doesn't come on at the full resolution, then you go into your display settings and you will have alternative resolutions in there. The best way to manage resolutions is Resolutionator. So I will show you what Resolutionator looks like. Let's come out of there. I am actually using Resolutionator right now. I cannot show you this in terms of what it will do, but I can show you what it looks like. So this is Resolutionator. I have 3 monitors. At the moment I'm running at 1600 by 900, but the default scale for this monitor is 2560 by 1440. I also have extra monitors, and this Resolutionator app, can you just get the link and post it in please? This Resolutionator app lets me manage my resolution, as you've seen, from an app just sitting there. So if I use my arrow keys and go backwards, you can see I've got 2 separate monitors, one on the left, one on the right, and they are both set to 2560 by 1440. They are both 27-inch monitors, as you can see, 27B1 and B1. They, when you buy them, can't go to that resolution. You'd need to spend much more money to do that. But using Resolutionator, I can force them into a resolution that they don't officially support. So I have 3 screens on my desktop that match the iMac in the middle. Before I did that, I had 24-inch monitors forced as high as they would go. And before that, I think I had possibly a 19-inch, maybe a 17-inch. But what I had always wanted was a triple monitor setup where they were all the same size as the iMac, and that's what I've got with this. But the thing that holds it together, you can spend as much as you like on the monitors. To me, I was going to spend as little as possible on the monitors because I don't like spending money on things like that. I just don't. I'm not Apple's ideal customer when it comes to spending about £3,000 and a kidney on one of their fabulous displays. So I just bought 2 that were, I mean, they're bezel-less, so they look pretty decent. And then I use Resolutionator, which is quite inexpensive. So what I would do with my left monitor, if I wanted to see that, these are the resolutions that supports. So what that's telling me is it's got a little like Punch and Judy icon next to it. What it's saying is you're running this at a resolution that isn't supported, but it looks absolutely fine. It absolutely looks fine. I'm just contemplating how we could see that, but possibly better leaving that till an after hours. But that's how I run it, and then of course I can just navigate these backwards and forwards and change the resolutions. I can't do that at the minute because YouTube would have a fit. If the resolution changed mid-broadcast, it would have a fit. But I can highly recommend that application, Resolutionator. So let's...
Which Renee has now gone to buy.
Oh, we're doing it again. Download Resolutionator. Is it Resolutionator or her? I'm not sure. Let's have a look.
Or.
Right, I've got a browser open. It's contemplating it. Comes from. It didn't find that straight away.
I've put the link in.
I know. I'm going to find it now.
Oh, right.
Resolutionator Mac OS. There we go. That should do it. Right, let's bring that on. There we go. A Resolutionator from Many Tricks. I'm going to accept that. How much is it? Oh, you can use it from the menu bar as well, but I never do that. I just like navigating it. Right, what I'll do is we'll click the buy now. But they get $3. I mean, really, it would be rude not to, wouldn't it? It is an absolute bargain. I've used that for years. I mean, you spend $3 on this and save like $500 on the monitors. Honestly, it's that bad. Oh dear. Right, let's get that going again. There we go. So, we got any more questions? What questions have we got?
Yeah, Renee just asked a question. Where do you set the global application and document styles?
Well, yeah, we looked at that. It's a bit odd, but let's go back into it. I keep doing that. I shouldn't be doing that, should I? Let me just do this and do that. That's better. Right, Publisher. It was what we set up. So if we go in and we create a new file, or should we use the other one? Well, what you're doing in here is these are the default ones. If you don't want some of them, delete them. If you want some extras, then create them. So for example, we do not have here a heading 3. But if we add a style and we call it heading 3, so we've got one, and we base it on heading 2 and OK, we now have a heading 3. So in here we've got a heading 1, a 2 and a 3. So I've added a style to it. If these are what you want to be application default, you go up to the top and you say save styles as default, and that's it. Simple as that. What I was saying was a better way to do that is to use templates, because that way you've got multiple different groups of styles in the relevant document. But if you want to set it at application level, you just do save styles as default and that's it, you're done. So hopefully that answers that question.
Supplementary from Paul Conaway. Do you create the styles without a document open? I'm presuming means if it's not a document style.
You can do, but I would tend to have a document as well, purely because what I would do is I would create a style guide. It's one thing having those styles in a huge list on the right hand side of the screen, but you may need to share them with a client, or you may need just for your own purposes to think what did that style look like again. So I open a document and save it as style guide, and I put all the styles that belong in the document. And I would save them, that would then become a template. In terms of the content, you can then get rid of the content. You're basically going to need two files. You're going to need the file that is your style guide that has like 10 pages, and every style that you've got in there, you put some text in the document, even if it's just Quick Brown Fox, and you style it. You go through your style panel, going style, 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 style. That gives you a style guide. You then save that document somewhere. You then make a template of it, having deleted the style guide information, not the styles, just the pages. And then turn that into a template. Obviously, you're going to have to keep the two in sync if you want to change them. But what I personally would do is open the style guide, make the changes that I want, save that as my style guide, and then make a new template based on it. So that's how I do it. What else have we got, Mike?
Last one was Tony, who had his problem trying to get text into a text box, but I think he might have sorted it. Pasted it from GoodNotes, and if it was a full Word document, you can use place from the file menu.
Yep. Are you sure there was a text box on the page? Did you manually add the text box? Sometimes the text box in the background, and as you're trying to paste into it, you've not actually selected the text box. So that could have been why it wasn't working. But personally, I would use the place command, because the place command will load it into the mouse pointer, and you can then click where you want it to be. But you're taking advantage of the mechanism that Affinity Publisher has built in to create styles from what you paste in. I think if you were to copy from Word and paste in, it would be quite hit and miss whether it took the actual styles in. It would probably take the look of the text, but the look of the text is not actually a style. So I would use the place command for that. Right. Carol's bought it as well,
yeah,
installed and ready for Tuesday.
I'm just thinking, how much commission could you get on a $3 of payment? That's it. There's been a few nice comments. You've been described as a great mentor.
Oh, good.
And you've also been described as Queen of the Screen.
Yay! I'm liking that one.
And Carol bought your Scrivener course this week.
Excellent.
And Renee's very happy with the session. And
Good.
Kay says it's been a wonderful May.
Fantastic. Glad you've enjoyed it.
And that is it.
Now, we will be revisiting styles in terms of how style... You'll notice in the styles that were in there by default, there were no styles for tables of contents or the index. They appear by magic, you know, like the shopkeeper in Mr. Ben. I used to hate him appearing. It meant it was the end of the show, and I loved the show. These styles, these extra styles, will automatically appear. But you needed to understand the basics today before we move on to a table of contents and an index. But we will, because you've seen the posters, so these sessions exist. They are just without a date at the moment, but they do exist. So that's a step in the right direction, isn't it? If I've got a poster, I'm halfway there. Or at least that's what I say. Oh, Peter says, pasting from Word, bit hit and miss. Yeah, that's why I would avoid it. Oh, there's so many things at play with that. For instance, I've got a clipboard extender, so if I'm copying from Word, all sorts could be happening as I'm trying to paste it via the clipboard extender, even if you're just using Alfred for that. So if there is a place command, use the place command, because it's then going to give you the best experience in terms of putting into Affinity Publisher what came out of Word. You don't want to lose anything along the way. Didn't I have... I had a slide about like a sidecar file, and it was a girl walking along a road with a suitcase behind her, and I'd put like a badge on the case. You know when you used to see cases that had like stickers on from all over the world? I put one on that said styles on board, meaning that the styles went with it. So it's a similar kind of thing. I must dig that out.
There's another question from Luxury Card Store. What
Okay.
do you mean? What do you mean the look of the text is not the same as the styles?
Well, you could go into... Let me show you. Let's go into here and have a look at it. Press that same button again. Right, so we got this new document in here. So let me put a placeholder in to put the text in. And we will put... Pretty sure in my data, I had just some plain text from memory. Did we have that open? In Sublime we did. So what I'm going to paste into here is just some plain text. Right, so this bit at the top here, let's say up here, we are going to format it. So we'll go through the format options over here, just like we did before. So we will make it some kind of silly font, like our cartoony font. And up there we'll make it red, and what else should we do with it? We'll center align it. Okay, that text is formatted, but it's not a style. So if I go into it and I make it a style, so I come down and I make it a style, and we say cartoon, right, now we have a style, and that is styled. So if I go to another paragraph and I apply the style, the two look the same. But if I was to copy this and paste it somewhere else, it maybe, let's see what it actually does. I will copy it, I will paste it into Pages. Oh, this may not end well. Right, new file. Don't know why we're going landscape, but never mind. Paste. Okay. Let's have a look what we've got in here then. It looks like the style has gone with it. And if you're defining style as in the look of it, then it has. So that is styled correctly, but over here it says default. And let's have a look what it says down here. Default. So the style has not gone with it. If we look in here, cartoon did not go with it. The look and feel of the text went with it, but the actual style did not go with it. So that's what I mean. It will be simple enough in the receiving application, which in this case is Pages, to say, right, this thing here, yeah, that needs to be a style. So I can go in here and add a paragraph style, and I can call it cartoon, but I have to retrofit the actual style to the text that I've got. So now if I want to go to this paragraph, and I want to apply the cartoon style, I can do it. But I manually have to create all the styles based on what I've pasted in. So if I had 10 different styles in this text, I'd have to go through that process 10 different times to create 10 new styles in Pages. It doesn't go with it. The look and feel of it does, but the definition of the style does not. So hopefully that explains that one. Let's get that back again. There we go. So are we all questioned out yet?
Oh no.
No, we're not.
Carol's put one in.
That's exactly right, Luxury Card Store. Formatting is not a style in itself. The two things are separate, but it's easy to get confused because you think, but I'm looking at it and it looks exactly the same. But the style is totally separate from the format that is applied. Sometimes you might get an Affinity Publisher file in and you might think, oh, fantastic, it's all styled, great. And then you look at the styles panel and think there's no styles in it. They've formatted each individual bit separately. Just the way it works. It's the same in any application. And that's why, years and years ago, when Mike and I were training things like Word, I don't think either of us really enjoyed that, did we? And I remember saying to Mike, do you know, this is an intro course, and this is an intermediate, and this is an advanced, is ridiculous. And it was ridiculous because what did you do in the intro? You showed people that this is bold, italic, underline. You can make the text bigger. You can make the text green. You can add marching ants to it. No, that doesn't print out. And honestly, that was a question that I got more than once. And then you take them through the intermediate, and then you get to the advanced and you say, you know, all that formatting that we showed you how to do? Yeah, all of that was wrong. What you really need to do is to create a style. And that's why there's so many Word documents out there that are styled beautifully, but they're not actually styles, because they only did the intro and the intermediate course. They never got to the advanced. And I said to Mike, we should really be saying to them, there's bold, italic, underline, but don't do that, make a style. But the perception is, as people put the courses together, oh, no, the styles are advanced, leave them till the end. Not really. Because if you teach people, that people get frustrated when they've formatted this document beautifully, all 99 pages of it, and the boss says, those green headings, yeah, can we have them blue? And then it's a huge job, which it wouldn't have been if they'd known about styles. So yes, it's an easy mistake to make, and they pretty much all work the same way, but I'm glad you've got it now. Right, what else have we got?
Peter and Paul have asked, at some point in the future, could you have a look at bullet lists in detail with regard to formatting?
Yep, we can do that. Put that down, Mike.
I have put it down.
Excellent.
Okay, another question. 5 minutes ago, sorry, I'll find this question answered when I watch later. Can I copy a format from one text section to another? Wasn't possible on the version. I left Publisher for good. No, this person's just come in 5 minutes ago.
From one text section to another. What do you mean by text section? You can copy styles between documents, and you could, if you had a format on one paragraph that you wanted on another, you could make a style of it and then apply it to the second one. But I'm not quite sure what you mean by one text section to another. You could mean a section of the document. That doesn't matter. You can have that. You can have a range of styles within a document, and they can apply to any section of the text. So if you can just give me a little bit more information on that. Like the brush in Word. Right, I'm with you. Okay. Let's do that. And get rid of Pages, because poor Pages is stressed out, doesn't understand it. Right, so what you mean is you've got some formatting like that, and for that to make any sense, to do it that way, you would have to have in here, let's do something like that so you see it's very different. Right, so that is formatted, but it's not a style, and you would like to take the style off that and put it somewhere else. Well, you can copy it. So you've copied at the moment the content and the style. And you have the option up here to paste without the format, but you don't have the option to paste just the format. Now you see you've got paste style, but it's dimmed out. Paste style is referring to an object style. So while you can do that in the other applications from shape to shape, you can't do that in here with just the format of that. What you would need to do with it is to make a style of it. Let me think if there's another way. There's a kind of dirty hack. Oh, we love dirty hacks, don't we? Right, dirty hack would be, I've copied the fancy font down here. I've copied the entire paragraph, and I'm pasting it above the one that I actually want, which is this one. So I've now got a copy of the lower paragraph. I'm now going to cut the text that I want to be formatted like that. And I'm going to select the entire paragraph if I can see it. Let me just zoom out a bit. Right, so if I select all of that, and then I do a paste as plain text, what I get is the paragraph I wanted formatted from below, if you're with me. Let me do that again, make sure it makes sense. Right, undo, undo, undo. What are you going to undo for me? Keep going, keep going. There we go. Right, so this paragraph down here, let's make that so we can see what it actually says. And that's, let's have the quick brown fox. The quick brown fox jumped over the... Now, the dog's not lazy, seriously. Right, there we go, jumped over the lazy doggies. So that's the paragraph format that we want, but we want that format applied to the top one without a style. So what we do is we copy that. We move to before it and just paste the whole thing in. Then we copy, well actually cut the text that you want formatted, select the entire paragraph that is the duplicate and paste as plain text. And it will take the format that was on the paragraph. So in essence, you've duplicated the bottom paragraph and overwritten the content with the content of the other paragraph. Hopefully that makes sense. That's probably the only way to do it. If you are wondering how I did the paste as plain text, I wish I could remember. I think it's in Alfred. Let's have a look. I have a whole range of helper applications, and this is Alfred. And in Alfred, I do believe in the workflows, I have some plain text, paste as plain text. So this is a workflow in Alfred, and I use this all the time. It does two things. It takes the contents of the clipboard and it pastes them using that shortcut key, which I know it looks hideous. It is all of the extender keys. It is Control, Option, Command and Shift and the letter K. And that will paste anything as plain text in any application, no matter where it came from or where it's going to. And I use that all the time. The second thing this can do is you can use an Alfred keyword, which is CCL, convert case lower and convert case upper, and then it will paste that. It will convert from case, from lowercase to uppercase, etc., and then copy that back to the clipboard, and then it will paste that in. But the bit that I'm interested in is this bit at the top, which will just paste as plain text. It's fabulous. There's apps that you can get to actually do that. So if you go in the App Store and you look for plain text, come on, plain text, because I used to have an app for it. There you go, paste as plain text. And I haven't downloaded it because I don't actually need it anymore. But what that does is just what I've done, very simple. You copy it and then you just use that command and it will paste it in as plain text. So you lose the formatting that you don't particularly want in the first place. Now, FitBlab, I think they do. Yeah, they do these smart countdown things and other apps. So they do a whole range of apps. Presentation Assistant's one of theirs. That's the one that I was using. So I just use Alfred. It's just easier. Okay, do we have any more questions?
Only one from Carol.
Right.
Going back to Designer, is there a way to make a rounded rectangle look rounded, as in like a 3D stitch?
Ooh, what does a 3D stitch look like? Probably. Have you got an example of what the 3D stitch looks like? Send that through and we can do that as a demo. Send it through. Right, so these are comments at the bottom, are they? Not... oh, subscribed! Thank you very much. Thank you. There's another birthday present for me.
Yeah.
Kay's going through an actual project after this. Excited to use the training, think it through and start well. You'll save yourself so much time if you do. I actually flat plan the content, which means doing it on paper first. Although these days, that could be an app on your iPad, virtual paper. But the style tree, if you do think of it as a tree, one tip I can give you is use a mind map app to make that. There is actually one that's free. Let me show you that one. This is pretty cool. But hang on, let me see if I can just make a mind map. Then we just do a new mind map. There we go. So what I would do with that, the bit that says mind map in the middle, right, that could be your document title. Right, and then work down from there. So the first set of things that you would potentially think about is the body text. So think of body as being like the top level style, and then within there I would put like body intro and body main. If you want a different last paragraph, then you may create a style called body wrap, which is the last paragraph. Then start thinking about, yeah, and I might want a quote within it, you know, an inline quote in there. So an inline quote. And I might want something like a caption to put underneath. So exactly the same as the body, but I want it smaller. But if you base body caption on body and you change body, then body caption will update. Okay, so that's it with the body. Then the next one you might want to create is the headings. And then in there, put in your heading 1 and all of your other headings. Now, once you've done this, so I would go up to maybe 6 levels for the heading, but we'll put in a few here. The reason I would do it in a mind map is if I decide down the line, 1, I can visualize it, but 2, if I decide down the line, you know, this stacking thing, quite like that. Well, in that case, grab your 2 and put it on 1, and your 3 on 2, and your 4 on 3, and now you've got a visual representation of that. You can also, in here, I don't use it often, but in the view, is it in the view, center the node? There was an option in here. Like I say, I don't use it that much like that. I prefer it to be like visualized like that, and then over here I have my outline for it. And I would do that before I touched Publisher. I can also get sign off from the client on that, saying, is this how you want the text to work? And then that can go in as a resource when you're working with it. So I would do that with it. So yeah, sit down, start strong. Start strong. Right, what else have we got going on in here?
At some point in the future, can you do a live stream on mind mapping? I like the way you explain things.
Oh, good. Yeah, put that down, Mike. The action section's looking rather large here. Oh, thank you, Renee. Renee says you've been taking it to the next level again. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I know that you're still waiting for your table of contents, but the post is done, so that's halfway there. That's a kit. That's one step up from putting it on a post-it note, and you know, putting it on a post-it note means it's virtually done as well. Okay, I can actually see the chat now.
And that's it.
Paul enjoys it. I love the mind map idea to visualise the stars. It's easier to visualise it in a mind map than it is that panel, even if you turn the panel into the hierarchy view, which I do love the hierarchy view. But the hierarchy view, it does make sense if you've got styles based on styles, but the ability to group them into a style group is perfect, because you can put styles in a group that don't necessarily look like each other. So the difference between a group style and basing a style on a style, which would also give you a hierarchy, is the group could actually be totally empty. You wouldn't have to put any style on the group. You can just throw styles in there and say it's based on. But everything to do with the style is different. But to be able to visualise it in a tree, I'm a visual person. I like to see it visually. And sometimes, like the jobs I've done, have been like, no idea what this needs to look like when I'm done. But when I'm done, it needs to look right. And you end up starting and putting stuff in and then having to retrofit the styles, and that way madness lies. Don't do that. So I'm glad you enjoyed that. We've put mind mapping on the list. There you go. Kay loves to flat plan. He will try the mind map for the church photo directory. Several different sections: leadership, full colour, family photos, full colour, and contact info. Oh, I can't wait to see this, Kay. It's going to be amazing, this thing. Right, okay then. It sounds like we are all questioned out, which is just as well before YouTube go mental. 2 hours, 20 minutes. Good grief. But do join us next week. Don't miss out next week when we're looking at assets. We shall have fun with assets. But for the moment, I'm going to say good night from me.
And good night from me.
And we will both see you next time. Stay safe, guys.